Number 11, trying to find this angle. We have the adjacent side and the hypotenuse, and so we'll use cosine. Cosine x equals the adjacent 6.5 over the hypotenuse 10. And so we'll use inverse cosine to find x. 6.5 over 10. Let's do that in my calculator. Inverse cosine of 6.5 over 10. And that gives me 49.4. So 49 degrees to the nearest degree. Number 12. From the angle 40, we have the opposite and hypotenuse. And so we'll use sine. Sine 40 equals the opposite 12 over the hypotenuse x. Need to get x by itself and on top, so I'm going to multiply both sides by x. X sine 40 equals 12. Divide both sides by sine 40. And so I'll get x equals 12 over sine 40. I can do that in my calculator. That gives me 18.7. Okay. Number 13 here. Notice that for 13, this is not a right triangle, so we can't just use SOHCAHTOA. We're trying to find C. And so what we have to do is actually in a couple steps, we need to use this value, this pair, sine, alright, did I want to do that? Yep, I think so. Sine 95 over 27. And I'm going to have to kind of work backwards because they want me to find sine C first, but I have to find angle B since I know the side 16. So I'll say sine B over 16. I'll multiply both sides by 16 here, so in my calculator I have 16 times sine 95 divided by 27. And that'll give me that sine B is this number, 0.59. Okay, but I want to find out what B is, so I'm using inverse sine to get that all the way by itself. I'll just put answer so I don't have to round my answer. And I find that B is 36 degrees. Okay, I'm going to use that to find out what angle C is. 95 plus 36, 180 minus that answer should give us 49. And now that I know that angle C is 49 degrees, I can use law of sines now to actually find that side. I'm going to flip this so that I have to do less algebra in getting my values by itself. So 27 over sine 95 equals C over sine 49. I can cross multiply, and so I'll get 27 times sine 49 divided by sine 95. That should give me my answer of 20.5. Okay, so here wasn't a right triangle, so we had to use law of sines. Number 14, trying to find x given both angles. Really doesn't matter which one we choose. I'm going to look from the 58, and that'll give me my opposite and my hypotenuse. I'm going to say sine of 58 equals opposite over hypotenuse. Multiply both sides by x. Divide both sides by sine 58. And so then I get 8 divided by sine 58 to give me my answer, which is 9.4. Okay. Number 15, again a right triangle, so we can use this our SOHCAHTOA, right triangle trig. This is our opposite side from x, this is our adjacent, so we're going to be using tangent. Tangent x equals opposite over adjacent. To find x, I'll just do the inverse tangent of 7 over 6. And so inverse tangent of 7 over 6 should give me 49.4, closest to 49 degrees. Number 16. Okay, here's another situation where we're not given that the triangle is the right triangle. And so if we are trying to find this value x, we need to have either use law of sines or law of cosines. Here they give us two angles of a triangle, and if they give us two angles of the triangle, that means they basically gave us three, because we know they add up to 180 degrees. So 180 minus that 92, 88. Okay, we have this angle and its corresponding side, and so we can use law of sines. So I'm going to set it up as x over sine 51 should equal 17 over sine 88. Then I cross multiply, I'll get x equals 17 sine 51 over sine 88. 17 times sine 51 divided by sine 88, and that gives me 13.2. Okay. Number 17, again, it's not given to us that this is a right triangle. We need to find the angle x. We can't use SOHCAHTOA because it's not a right triangle, and we can't use law of sines because we don't have an angle and its matching side. So in this case, we have to use law of cosines, and because we're trying to find this angle, we're going to set up law of cosines so that its corresponding side is out in front. So our equation should be 16 squared equals 8 squared plus 22 squared minus 2 times 8 times 22 cosine. And I'll just call that x because that's what we're trying to find. Okay, once we plug all of that information into our calculator, 16 squared is 256. 8 squared plus 22 squared, 548. 2 times 8 times 22 is 352, so minus 352 cosine x. Okay, now we're going to be solving for x. So the first thing I want to do is subtract 548 from both sides. 256 minus 548 gives me negative 292. So subtract 548 from both sides. Negative 352 cosine x is left. Remember that we can't combine these because these aren't like terms, and we can't just add 352 because we're thinking about what is this doing to x. It's multiplying. So to get rid of it, we have to divide. So we divide by negative 352, and we'll get, I'm going to write it underneath this triangle here, cosine x equals 0.829. Alright, I'll write that down even though I'm going to try to just keep it in my calculator. To get x all the way by itself, I'm going to inverse cosine that answer, and we find that x has to be 34 degrees. Okay, number 18, trying to find a and b here. This is a right triangle, so we can just use our SOHCAHTOA. Alright, so I'm going to look from this angle. This is my adjacent side, and this is my hypotenuse. So to find a, I'm going to say cosine 22 equals adjacent a over hypotenuse 30. Get a by itself, 30 cosine 22 equals a. I can just do that on my calculator, 30 times cosine 22. And I find that a is 27.8. And then to find b, this is my opposite side from here, and so opposite hypotenuse, I'm using sine. Sine 22 equals opposite b over hypotenuse 30. So I should have 30 sine 22. And that gives me 11.2.